Hey guys, just wanted to touch base with you tonight on something that kind of excited me the other day. I know you guys, a lot of you had watched the video I did on my trip going up to OAS, and starting from my very own exit when I was pulling out onto the interstate all the way up to DC. I kept seeing these guys standing on the overpasses waving their flags and signs and everything, and I wish I'd caught more of them on video, but it was kind of shocking to me because in the past I've seen one here and one there, and I've seen pictures passed around on Facebook of them, but this was like obvious. It was very obvious, and people going down the interstate were honking, and I was honking, so grabbed my camera, but not nearly in time to get as much as I wanted to get. But I'd heard of an organization called Overpasses for America before. I really didn't notice it though. I knew it in the back of my mind. I'd see it here and there and recognize it, but that drive up there grabbed my attention stronger on it. So through social media, I managed to make contact with James Neighbors, who is the founder of Overpasses for America, and I've got him on the phone. Say hello, James.
Hello.
I wanted to have my listeners hear from you, James, about Overpasses for America. And my biggest first question that I have for you is just basically, what is the message of these guys that are on the overpasses with their flags and their banners? What are you trying to get across to people as they're driving down the interstate when they see these people hanging out there on the overpasses?
Well, our primary goal, immediately is to get people to talk about and question why we need to remove Obama from office, and so that's why a lot of the banners you're going to see will say impeach Obama or honk to impeach. The fact is he's a criminal, and we've had other criminals in the White House, don't get me wrong, but he is easily the worst, and he's the one that's there right now, and we have to make an example of him for the future, and we're trying to get people to wake up and not be so complacent. A lot of people say that they're not interested in politics, but unfortunately, that doesn't matter because whether you're interested in it or not, because politics affects you, and it is extraordinarily interested in you, and politicians love people that live in this nation that don't participate in what goes on in this nation. And a complacent citizen is a slave, and we're trying to wake the silent majority, and that's really our mission, is to get people to become engaged again. Our founding fathers were an extraordinarily dynamic group of people that created this nation, and we just feel like it's our duty to wake that spirit back up in America to where we can reinvent this nation back to what it was, to where we're all free again.
Absolutely. Yeah, I notice in my day-to-day conversations that there's a large number of people that agree with the notion that government is not necessarily taking their best interests to heart, but they seem to feel kind of helpless and powerless. And that's one of the things I was thinking about when I was going down the interstate, looking at these guys at the overpasses. What a simple thing that you can do. Just drive down the street, find your overpass, and get on it. And I think that's really important too, that the simplicity of it is actually kind of what impressed me, to give people a way to act. And I think the second part of that, though, is like you touched on, the education, waking people up. And I think the education is one of the biggest things that this country needs to work on a little bit, because you talk to some people and they have no clue. They have absolutely no clue.
Well, and that kind of boils down to just the nature of how our society has evolved with technology and whatnot like that. you get distracted, very, very easily distracted, with video games and reality TV and work. And, of course, work is one thing that distracts people even more and more because everything in this life is getting to be more expensive because, because of the, inflation, which is being falsely reported. And so people have less time. And the simplicity that, that you mentioned is really the key to it. Anybody that has a desire to speak their mind on whatever topic, really, whatever topic, if it's, anywhere from Monsanto to Common Core to, the NDAA to impeaching Obama or whatever it is, whatever it may be, one single person can communicate to anywhere from, a few thousand to several million, depending on where you live, in just a short amount of time. And, our government has really gone out of their way to make people feel like they have no voices. They're just a grain in the sand. There's 317 million people, and what can I possibly do?
Yeah.
And that's not by accident. They want people to feel helpless. They want them to feel dependent on this nanny state that exists. They want them to feel like they don't have a voice in their own destiny. And that quite simply is not the truth. That is not the truth. And we've all got to wake up to that. And that's really what the key to this is. It gives people the ability to have a voice, and it's a force multiplier. You go out and you carry that sign out there, and and people see it, and it makes them start to wonder, well, what is it that's so important that this guy got out there, or that lady got out there with that sign? It was so important to her that she's going to take time off out of her life or his life and get out there and hold that so I will see it. And it puts an impression on their mind, and they go home and they look it up, because, like you said, a lot of people simply don't know about what's going on. You hold up a sign that says, "Remember Benghazi." And people are like, well, what's Benghazi? Because they don't watch the news, they don't read the news. But then they go and they get curious, and they pull up Google or Bing or whatever search engine they use, and they go look it up, and they go, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's really the key to it. It's the simplicity. It's so easily duplicatable that anybody that wants to do it can do it. And you don't have to do it from an overpass. It's just a name. If you live in one of the northern states that doesn't have overpasses, and they do exist, I was surprised to find that out actually.
Oh.
But our northern states, they don't have overpasses. And so they go to street corners. I've done street corners here in Oklahoma, and we have lots of overpasses. But street corners are fun.
Yeah. Yeah, they are actually. I had a group of people, and we were using street corners during the Ron Paul campaign. And you're down there, right there, they pull up to that stop sign or that stoplight, and sometimes they'll actually get a chance then to roll the window down and holler out and ask you what you're doing, which is a lot, that's really good for the interaction too. I like that. I've told a lot of my viewers that, one of the little things that bothers me, we've got the Benghazi, we've got the IRS targeting, we have Fast and Furious, but to bring it more to their home, we've got things going on where you've got kids in school being sent home because they wore an American flag on their shirt, or because they chewed a Pop-Tart and somebody thought it looked like a play gun or something. And those things there actually scare me more than the big issues like the IRS. I don't know how you feel about those things, but to me that it hits so close to those people that think politics don't affect them, that when you realize Common Core, when you realize the public school system is actually an education center for the government, and you as a parent are losing control, and your child who was born here from parents that were born here cannot even wear a t-shirt with the flag on it, How that doesn't anger people enough to get them to go and hold a sign, that's beyond me.
Well, you're right, and it's a multi-phased. Basically, the word for it that I would use would be an assault on everything that is America, and that's another thing that gets a lot of people feeling, they get down to where they just feel despaired with everything that's going on because we're being attacked. Everything that is America is being attacked from every different direction. From Pop-Tarts that vaguely resemble a gun, kids getting kicked out to NRA T-shirts, to American flag T-shirts. Everything that what makes America America is under assault, and it is not an accident. It's not an accident, and until we have to stand up and speak out about it, and to get other people willing to do so. And it's just the thing, when one person stands up, it emboldens unknown numbers of more people. A lot of detractors have said that, well, overpasses doesn't make any difference, and you're never going to make any difference, and you're just wasting your time up there. But I actually have statistical evidence that proves otherwise, and that is that before we came along, not a single member of Congress would even bring up the word impeachment. Well, you got 38, and I don't have the list right here in front of me, but there are 38 members of Congress now that have said that if they can get Reid out of control in the Senate, they'll not just consider filing impeachment, they will file impeachment. And there's a bunch more. There's a large number more that have said they'll consider it. And and there was before we came along in June of last year, there was about 24 news articles that would talk about the necessity of impeaching Obama and removing him from office. Since we came along, in just 9 months, well, actually, I guess a little bit longer than that. Well, yeah, we're working on almost a year now, but by our 9-month period, over 1,500 news articles had been written about the necessity of removing him from office, and it's now over 2,000 news articles about that. So we are making a difference. A person can just go talk to another person. They see us on an overpass. Wow, I saw these crazy guys on the overpass talking about impeaching Obama. Well, guess what? You just opened up a window to speak about that, and we brought the word impeach Obama and the notion of removing him and holding our government accountable, not just him, but it opens up the window of holding our government accountable for their actions to everybody.
Absolutely. Well, this phone call is a perfect example of that, to be honest with you. People asked me, and they still do, and I get beat up over it, why go to OAS? And Operation American Spring, no matter what you know about it or think about it, to me, part of what I feel when I'm out there is I'm letting the half a dozen of these guys that are in our government, that are true of heart, that do believe in our Constitution, I'm letting them know that I'm supporting that side of the government. I'm supporting the Ted Cruz's, I'm supporting the Rand Pauls and so many of their efforts. And, if nothing else, it's encouragement to them to see citizens believing and understanding what they're presenting and supporting them. And it gives them more fuel to push harder in their efforts that they're doing. Because, when you feel alone and outnumbered, that's a really ugly, sad feeling. But I just, I feel like education is a big part of the key, like I said, and I think that what you guys are doing, I'm knee deep in trying to get the word out and information out every day, just in my daily walk, and what I saw going down the interstate grabbed my attention. And so that's one reason why I was so excited to get you on the phone for this, because what you've done, I have heard about it, and I haven't focused on it. I haven't paid too much attention to it, but there's already that subliminal message that whenever you see a picture that somebody posts on Facebook, or you see a picture, you know, somewhere on the internet, and it's people standing at the overpass, you know what they're doing, and you know that's Overpasses for America. And I really, really commend you for the effort that you've got going on here. And the people that I talked to, there were some people at OAS that were with Overpasses, and they came over to help support OAS, and I spoke to them. You know, they're so dedicated, they're patriots, and it just made my heart sing. It really did, and I just thank you for everything that you're doing.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. You know, that's another thing that I think we do, and I think it's as important as everything else that we do is when people see us out there, it gives them legitimate hope for the future, because they see that even if they can't possibly get out there and stand up, that somebody is out there standing up for them. And hope is an infectious thing, and it spreads. And when people get hope, they don't want to have their hopes dashed, and they will defend that. And it wakes people up, and that's really, you know, that's what we've got to do. Our country's in a dark period, and the American people need hope, and the rest of the world needs hope. And America, we are that hope to the rest of the world. And if we fall, if America falls, the rest of the world uses the United States as the bar to which they judge their own civilization, their own nation.
Yeah.
And if we fall, the rest of the world is in for it. We think it's going to get bad here. You know, the rest of the world is in for some very brutal times.
Absolutely. I totally agree. You know, and not to ramble on too much here, but it's just like, just even knowing that, you know, we've cut our military back, we're cutting our VA benefits, all these things, and it's really scary because there are some very evil leaders out there in the world right now that are just waiting for the opportunity to pounce. And you're right. If we fall, then those that are below us, because I know that, you know, as many watching this know, the spirit of American patriots is so strong that even when we fall, we'll keep fighting. We won't be able to fight for them in the other countries.
No, we won't be able to fight for them. And you know, if we aren't the bar with which everybody is supposed to measure themselves by, then how can we justifiably call any other nation out? You know, just for example, what happened in Crimea. You know, Obama's administration is calling out Vladimir Putin for taking over Crimea and making it part of Russia again. And then he sends the Bureau of Land Management to Nevada.
Yeah.
Trying to take land there. You know, I mean, that's just blatant hypocrisy, and that's not what this nation is about. We're not perfect. We're not perfect because we're humans, and we make mistakes. But America is supposed to rebound from those mistakes and to learn from those mistakes. And all we're doing here, especially in the last 6 years, but before that too, you know, we've become the world's worst hypocrites. At least you can look at Russia and go, well, I mean, I wouldn't blame them for doing that. I mean, look at the United States. Who's going to stop them?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, who's got the moral high ground? We don't anymore, not until we reclaim it. And then we've got an uphill battle for that now, especially thanks to our current administration. And, you know, but it was happening before then, too.
It was, you know, but the thing that's scary is it sets a precedent. So whoever we wind up with next, that comes in behind Obama, if the current administration has gotten away with what they've gotten away with, what's the next one likely to try? You know, I mean, it's just, it scares me to death. And I honestly, when you mentioned the Bundy Ranch, one of my children, who is recently out of the military, she completed her contract, she went there. She went to the Bundy Ranch, not necessarily for the Bundys, but for the idea that who in the world would have thought we would have seen the day that a person no matter what it was for, who owed money, supposedly, to a government entity, had guns pointed at them. That just blows my mind. Blows my mind.
Well, it's a sad sign of the times, and it was they've been creeping this socialist tyranny in on us for a very long time, and I just read this report that said they're arming the FDA. Really? The Food and Drug Administration need guns?
Right.
And the Department of Homeland Security, really, in my opinion, it ought to be abolished. And why do they need enough ammunition for a 30-year protracted all-out war with 1.6 billion rounds and counting?
It's unbelievable.
It's happening. It is here. And if we don't stop it before very long, and it's not just, it's not very far away. If we don't stop it, there will be blood spilled in the streets of America by the government against people standing up for their rights. And that's really, I feel like overpasses in a lot of ways is a part of that last gasp effort to revive this nation before there is blood spilled.
I do too. I've had that conversation so much recently that any attempt any of us are making right now is our last ditch attempt. Because if these things don't work, and I'm going to be pretty quite frank and bold here and say by the end of this year, whether it's our economy crashing or the Russians deciding that, hey, you know what, Putin's not the least bit afraid of Obama. Maybe he might set his sights on bigger lands that he wants. Who knows? I don't know how it would go down, but I know that we're on the edge of being our own victims in the Holocaust Museum there in D.C. that I just visited the other day. There will be a Holocaust museum for American citizens. I just feel like it's coming to that point, and everybody senses it. And I think that's one of the reasons why so many people they're even scared when they do know and they are awake and they have the urge to do something. They're petrified. And I don't know if you had heard about this or not, but there was a retired Marine, on his way to Operation American Spring, and he actually was pulled over on the side of the road and was detained by 2 FBI agents for 17 hours and interrogated because they were afraid, I suppose, due to various people on the internet, that he was on his way in there for like some type of a violent overthrow or something, which is not what OAS is about. But that's pretty scary to think that your First Amendment is so minuscule in the eyes of this administration that even after you have served in an Iraq war and you go to hold a sign and a flag in a protest with a small group of people, that you could be pulled over. And that right there even speaks even louder that the time is now. People need to stand up and wake their neighbors up before it's too late. And so, again, thank you for doing that.
Well, I'm glad to do so. I was actually in D.C. for the first few days of OAS.
I think we met, actually. I do believe that I met you.
Well, I actually got to meet with the D.C. police, all 9 of them that surrounded me and searched me while I was waiting for my ride to come pick me up.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm literally sitting there with nothing but me and my sport jacket, and they felt the necessity to search me, and I'm literally doing nothing but sitting back against a tree.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your evening here to talk to me and talk to our listeners. Anybody that's interested in overpasses, I assume the website is overpassesforamerica.com.
Yeah, overpassesforamerica.com, or the easier and easiest is overpasses.org and then o4a.org. And if they're already on Facebook, just go to facebook.com/Overpasses for America. You know, we've got chapters in every single state, and we'd love to have you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Alright guys, I will get some more of the videos from OAS up to you later on tonight and into tomorrow. And as I mentioned the other day, my daughter will be in there on Sunday. She's going to get some video for you, and then I'll be back up there on Tuesday. So you guys keep watching and take care.